Curiosity killed the cat and satisfaction brought him back. And I was always very curious about why geese flew in a V formation. So I Googled it. And I found out that scientists have determined that there is a good reason for that formation. In fact, there are two very good purposes to this. One is that it conserves energy. Each bird flies slightly above the bird in front of him, resulting in a reduction of wind resistance. The birds take turns being in front, falling back when they get tired. Secondly, the V formation makes it easy to keep track of every bird in the group. Flying in formation may assist the communities and coordinate life within the group. In fact, fighter pilots often use this formation for the same reason. I delved further. One site said, the easiest position is in the rear of the V. The stronger geese, consequently, allow the young, weak, or old birds to occupy these less arduous positions. If a goose becomes too tired or ill to continue, it is never left alone or abandoned. The bird will leave the flock with the assistance of a healthier bird and remain grounded until it continues its flight. This social order greatly contributes to the survival and well-being of the entire flock. My Jewish friend would say, Lou, there's a homily in there somewhere. What is determined and demanded by our baptism and what is front and center in this Eastertide is the same kind of communal commitment. Ensuring the welfare of others within a reconciling community is the hallmark of Christ's command to his followers. Peace be with you. As the Father has sent me, so I send you. And though those early disciples were horrified at witnessing Jesus' suffering and death, they feared for their own safety. Remember, the door's locked. And the door's locked even after they see him. They're still scared. But Jesus' reassuring post-resurrection presence has begun to transform them. The evangelist uses the example of Thomas to illustrate a mindset not just of Thomas, but of the entire early church community, as well as to offer us a model for our approach to the Easter mystery. Put your finger here and see my hand. And bring your hand and put it into my side. And do not be unbelieving, but believe. Jesus is appealing to his disciples then and now to recognize in his suffering and death the key to our own call. Coming off the awesome sacred rituals of Holy Week, when we witness Christ's suffering and death at a distance, as it were, we are now invited to touch the wounds. Get up there. Face forward, up close and personal. Today's liturgy invites us to move from being spectators to being participants in the ongoing Easter story. Christ's presence to the poor, the hungry, the widow, the orphan, the gospel outcasts, prostitutes, tax collectors, and sinners, becomes for us the focus of our ministry. By touching their wounds, we touch the very wounds of the Christ. Our Easter faith leads us to a selfless commitment to an Easter faith soaring in V formation. But like those early disciples, we too have remnants of fear and doubt. We may fear for our own welfare during troubling economic times. What will happen to me? Can easily override our concern for the poor. Self-interest trumps the hope for change. But their freedom encroaches on my freedom. Can blur the severity of the issue at hand. But the Easter message calls us to see our needs in the relation to the needs of others. A community rooted in the death and resurrection of Jesus cannot ignore the poor, the marginalized, the alienated. The community of Luke in the Acts of the Apostles calls us to imitation. Before the aura of Easter wears off, we should allow the scriptures to call us to a community of service and reconciliation. That was Jesus' message on that night in the upper room. I would propose that it's also Francis's focus in calling for a Jubilee year of mercy and compassion. To take on the burdens of those alienated, poor, homeless, helpless, and make them our own. Touching the wounds of Christ is no longer a cause for sorrow as it was just a few days ago. Now the wounds of the Christ joyfully put us in touch with the centrality of his message and mission. Luke says, with great power, the disciples bore witness to the resurrection of Jesus. With Easter joy, then, we, you and I, take flight in a V formation of loving concern, bearing witness to the resurrection as a community committed to the service of others.